Imagine waking up in a city that will be destroyed in less than 3 hours. A city richer than London, louder than Paris, more dangerous than you could ever imagine. And you have absolutely no idea it is about to vanish forever. This is Lisbon in the 1700s, the beating heart of global money. Trade, religion, power, and secrets, a place where gold flowed like water, where spices smelled stronger than perfume, and where the richest empire on earth quietly built the systems that still shape how money, work, and wealth operate today. Close your eyes and picture the sun rising over the Atlantic as ships from Brazil glide into the harbor. Their wooden bodies heavy with gold mined by enslaved workers thousands of miles away. And as those ships approach the docks, church bells begin ringing, markets open, and the city wakes up without knowing it is living its final peaceful morning. Lisbon, in the early 1700s, is not just a city. It is the financial engine of an empire stretching across 4 continents. And every street you walk down is filled with proof that global trade has already begun shaping the modern world centuries before the internet ever existed. The air smells like cinnamon, sugar, tobacco, and sea salt. And the streets are alive with merchants shouting in Portuguese, Arabic, French, and English, because Lisbon is one of the first truly global cities where money speaks louder than nationality. But here is the first twist. The wealth you see everywhere is not evenly shared. And beneath the glittering churches and royal palaces hides a harsh reality that looks shockingly similar to modern life. Step into the Bexa district and you will see elegant stone buildings, bankers dressed in velvet, and gold coins changing hands faster than words. Yet just a few streets away, laborers live in crowded homes, working endless hours to support a system they barely benefit from. And suddenly, this 1700s city starts to feel uncomfortably familiar. Now imagine walking toward the harbor, the true heart of Lisbon's power, where giant ships unload cargo that will decide the fate of Europe's economy, and each crate represents a different piece of the empire's massive financial machine. Sugar from Brazil, spices from India, ivory from Africa, silk from China, and gold, endless gold, pouring in from the New World, turning Lisbon into the Las Vegas of the 18th century, where fortunes are made overnight and lost just as quickly. Merchants gamble on shipments the same way investors gamble on stocks today, betting on storms, pirates, and wars they cannot control. And every deal made in this port sends ripples across the global economy centuries before anyone uses the word globalization. But here comes the first major reveal. This wealth is creating an illusion of safety that blinds the entire city. The King of Portugal lives in unimaginable luxury, building palaces covered in gold, funding massive churches, and throwing extravagant celebrations that make Lisbon look unstoppable. Yet the city is sitting on one of the most dangerous fault lines in Europe, and no one understands the risk. As you walk uphill toward the royal palace, you pass priests, nobles, and bankers discussing power, religion, and money, because in Lisbon these 3 forces are inseparable, and the church plays a massive role in shaping daily life. Churches dominate the skyline, ringing bells from dawn to night, reminding citizens that faith and obedience are the foundation of society. But behind the spiritual messages lies a powerful financial system where religious institutions collect donations, taxes, and influence, shaping how wealth flows through the empire. Now pause for a moment and notice how familiar this system feels. Governments, banks, and institutions working together to maintain stability, control, risk, and keep people believing in the system. Lisbon is not just a city, it is an early blueprint for the modern world. Walk into a crowded market and you see traders negotiating prices, arguing about shipping costs, and predicting future demand, doing the exact same mental calculations modern entrepreneurs make every day. A merchant selling sugar worries about supply chains, inflation, and competition, even though those words do not exist yet, proving that human money psychology has barely changed in 300 years. But here comes the second major reveal. The city's success depends almost entirely on one fragile system: Brazil's gold mines. Every palace, every church, every luxury Lisbon enjoys is funded by gold flowing from across the ocean. And this creates a dangerous dependency that few people truly understand. Imagine an entire nation living paycheck to paycheck, Except the paycheck comes from another continent and travels across pirate-infested waters. And suddenly the empire's power starts to feel less stable and more like a higher-risk investment. As noon approaches, the streets become louder, richer, and more chaotic. Carriages rush through narrow roads. Aristocrats host lavish lunches, and dockworkers unload cargo under the burning sun, aware that the ground beneath their feet is slowly building pressure that has been waiting centuries to release. Now imagine standing in the center of the city as church bells begin ringing again, calling citizens to prayer on a quiet November morning in 1755. A day that begins like any other day, filled with routine, ambition, and confidence. And then everything changes. The ground begins to shake violently. Buildings collapse within seconds. And the richest city in Europe turns into dust and fire in less than 10 minutes. This is the moment Lisbon's illusion of safety shatters forever. The earthquake triggers massive fires and a tsunami that crashes into the harbor, destroying ships, markets, homes, and palaces, wiping out decades of wealth in a single morning, and proving the third and biggest reveal of our story: no financial empire is ever truly safe. Imagine watching gold melt inside burning churches, merchants losing entire fortunes in seconds, and survivors realizing that everything they believed was permanent was actually fragile. A disaster kills tens of thousands and destroys most of the city, shocking Europe and forcing leaders to rethink how cities, economies, and societies should be built. But here is where the story becomes even more fascinating, because Lisbon does something no one expects. Instead of collapsing into chaos, the city rebuilds itself using revolutionary ideas that change urban planning, disaster management, and economic strategy forever. The Prime Minister, the Marquis of Pombal, takes control and introduces bold reforms, rebuilding Lisbon with wider streets, stronger buildings, and new financial policies designed to prevent economic collapse, essentially creating one of the world's first modern cities. This disaster becomes a turning point that teaches the world how to prepare for risk, manage crises, and rebuild stronger systems. It's lessons that still shape modern economies today. Suddenly, Lisbon transforms from a symbol of fragile wealth into a symbol of resilience and innovation, proving that catastrophe can become the foundation of progress. As the city rises again, new opportunities appear, new businesses emerge, the economy slowly stabilizes, showing that wealth is not just about resources, but about adaptability and strategy. Walking through the rebuilt streets years later, you would see a city that looks more organized, more modern, and more prepared than ever before. A city that learned the hard way that growth without resilience is a dangerous illusion. And now comes the deeper lesson hidden beneath this entire story. The systems created in Lisbon during the 1700s mirror the systems we live in today. Global trade, financial dependency, urban planning, and the constant balancing act between growth and risk. The people of Lisbon believed their wealth made them safe, just as many people believe today that technology and modern systems make us untouchable. History quietly reminds us that uncertainty never disappears. It only changes shape. Imagine the merchants who survived the disaster, starting over from nothing, rebuilding businesses, rethinking strategies, and discovering that true wealth is not gold or buildings, but the ability to adapt and rebuild after losing everything. Their story becomes a timeless reminder that progress always carries risk, and that resilience is the most valuable currency any society can possess. As the sun sets over the rebuilt city, ships once again fill the harbor, markets reopen, and life continues, proving that human ambition is stronger than any disaster. Lisbon's story is not just about destruction, it is about transformation. About the moment the world realized that power must be balanced with preparation, and that success without planning is simply luck waiting to run out. Today, when you look at modern cities filled with skyscrapers, financial centers, and global trade networks, you are seeing the legacy of lessons learned in Lisbon centuries ago. The city that once vanished in a single morning helps shape how the modern world prepares for the future. And its story continues to echo through every economy, every market, and every city built near the sea. And here's the final thought that will stay with you long after this journey ends. If one of the richest cities in history could disappear in ours and rise again stronger, what does that say about the systems we rely on today? And are we truly prepared for the moment our own version of the earthquake arrives?